my Fender Hot Rod Deluxe amp. As you can tell from that first clip, there's not a lot of subtlety to the volume control. When you're trying to play low volumes, it's really on or off. You're constantly trying to just put that knob barely above the zero to get a little bit of sound out of it. And this is nothing new. Everyone's been aware of this problem with these amps. They're great at loud volumes, but they're just not very useful for quieter practicing or quieter playing. The idea how to fix this is to put a volume control into the effects loop. That way the preamp can be fairly loud, and then you can reduce the volume through the effects loop. It's really just a volume control, like the volume control pot on a guitar or a volume pedal put into the effects loop. Now they make a product for this. It's called the Amp Tamer. It's actually a nice little package. But as I thought about it, I had all the parts on hand that I could just make one of these, so dug into it on a Friday night. This is a small plastic enclosure that I had laying around from a previous project, and two rather large 1/4-inch jacks there that I could just barely fit into that box. And the final part is a potentiometer. I think I used a 500K. You could also use a 250K ohm potentiometer. You just want to make sure that it's audio taper, not linear taper, so you have control over the volume through the full range of the pot. So you can see I spent most of my time trying to get the components to fit in that box. It was a very tight fit. And then it's a pretty simple circuit. If you look at the small diagram at the bottom there, you have a jack on the left, a jack on the right, and then the potentiometer in the middle with 3 connections. The bottom connection of the potentiometer is connected to the outside ring of both of the output jacks, or input and output jacks, connected together there as ground. And then the middle connector on the potentiometer goes to the tip of the output jack, and the final left-hand connection on the potentiometer goes to the tip of the input jack. Pretty simple circuit here. Only took about 10 or 15 minutes of soldering and a little bit of Dremel work to the box to make the components fit, and then it was all assembled. And actually the most difficult part of this is I wanted it to attach directly to the amp. So those jacks had to be exactly 20 millimeters center to center, so that these barrel jacks could fit directly on the amp and I wouldn't have any cables. And in the end it turned out to be a pretty good fit. So it just sits on top of the amp there and there's no extra cabling to deal with. So let's fire it up and see what we hear. You can really see how touchy that volume control is on the amp. That extra knob gives us much more control. Now we can turn the amp up to 3 or 4 and get the fine control from the new knob. Much better. In the end, this worked out really nicely. I find myself using this amp a lot more because I can really tune in the volume for lower volume practicing. It's gotten much more use since I built this thing. Didn't take too long to build either, and just a few bucks worth of parts, so I hope this helps someone out.